let's just sew whatever. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make the Betty Bowler bag from Swoon Patterns. This bag is massive, super huge. I made this for myself as like a travel bag, and we made it with binding. I love all the materials I used, except the way I made it. So really quick interfacing recommendation, I would go ahead and leave off foam if you're making this with binding. It won't be fun, you won't like it. So if you need a lot of stand-up ability and you really want the foam, make sure you're cutting it about ½ inch smaller so that it isn't in your seam allowances. But maybe you could use Decaville Light instead. I used Sew Fuse Plus on all of the pieces except for these pockets. I just used Sew Fuse, and I think it has a really nice shape. I used foam in this bottom gusset, and while it does feel really nice, it was so hard to do. So I just don't think that like binding and foam really can coexist together nicely. We also left off the piping, goodness gracious, from this bag. So here it is. It's a little misshapen, and I think like just kind of, I think it's just because it's a big bag. You notice all of those little issues, but it does have an echo, which is really fun. So, I mean, there's that. But I added a slip pocket and then a really, really wide zippered pocket there. And yeah, let's make it. So I started this bag at 11 and it is now 1:30 in the morning. So this is a big time investment, just so you're aware. I am going to be trying to make the Betty Bowler bag out of fabric. Cool. But I'm trying to make it not a drop-in and not a birth bag, but finished with binding. I've seen a lot of questions asked, and I was like, I'm gonna try it. So I'm using this incredible water marbled fabric from Always Shine Your Heart. I will include their link down below, but this is completely one-of-a-kind fabric. And what is hilarious is I was looking through her Instagram and I saw that she made a Betty Bowler. So I was like, well, perfect. I guess my subconscious saw it many moons ago and was like, this will be perfect. But I am making this bag for myself and I'm super excited. I have interfaced this exterior fabric, which is a canvas, with a woven interfacing, and then I've used Sew Fuse Plus, which is kind of like a woven version of 809, so that's kind of what I'm going with. I'm also using foam and Decaville Heavy in the bottom, and then for this main panel I have cut the piece down by ½ inch, so that's going to be our seam allowances. I imagine my zipper panel is going to be a little too wide still, and I'm going to have to trim it down. I should probably I would say I will have said in the intro, so maybe just edit this out. But yeah, I'm super excited, so let's dive in. Okay, so I have fresh bobbins. I am starting with about 4 or 5 full bobbins, just because this is a very large bag. I'm not used to making ones this big. But yeah, we're gonna start with the handles. I went ahead and cut my handles to 4 inches wide by 23 inches long. I always feel like the Swoon pattern handles are just a little bit shorter than I'd prefer. So I thought we'll just go ahead and do that. So I'm using ½ inch wide double-sided tape just down the center. And then we're folding in those long raw edges. And then I'm going to switch to a pretty long stitch length, about a 5.5, and top stitch along all 4 sides of the strap. And then for the end of my straps, what I'll do is just take my scissors and trim off any uneven excess bits. And then if you wanted to, you could add strap ends, clamp on, or screw on. But there is our strap. I'm using the pastel fairy floss from Wizardry, Stitchery, and Crafts. I'll link that down below, but it's beautiful. So I'm gonna repeat that on the other strap and the crossbody strap. I don't know that this bag has one included in the pattern, but I will want it to be a crossbody strap, so I'm adding that, and I'm just going to fast forward through that. Okay, so I have my crossbody finished, and I cut that from the width of the vinyl, so it's about 54 inches long. And then I'm going to need a wide mouth slide adjuster. I have these available on my website, and then 2 1-inch snap hooks. So you're just going to slide it in the back of the slide adjuster over the bar, and then you can rivet that in place or sew. I'll go ahead and sew just a little box. And I really like using ones with a little bar that slides so that you can get as close as possible to it. I think what's kind of fun about using this like rainbow thread too is it doesn't really matter what color your vinyl is. This is likely gonna work. So if you're someone that hates changing out your thread, you might like the rainbow thread. All right, so you're gonna slide your snap hook on the end without anything attached to it, and then go back up your slider and then down the other side. And then you just attach your other snap hook to the other end and sew it off. And then I like to sew a little back stitch, box stitch. And that is our straps done. I always hate getting to the end of the bag and I'm like, dang it, now I gotta make straps. So, get it done. Okay, now that my straps are done, I'm gonna need my exterior main panels, your front pockets, and then your 4 strap connectors that go on the front of the bag. And this bag does use piping, but I've decided that there's already a lot going on. I could use black piping, but I don't really feel like it, so we're not gonna. So I've got my right sides together on all of these pockets. You should have a total of 4 pieces, well, 4 pockets, but 2 that face this way and 2 that face the other way. And we're gonna sew those together. Everyone seems to like this angle pretty much, so we're gonna stick with this for as much of the tutorial as we can. I'm gonna switch my stitch length down to like a 4.5 or a 4, and I'm just gonna follow along the top edge of all of these pockets. And then instead of like cutting as I go, since I don't have an automatic thread cutter, I'm just going to do one after the other, leaving them attached. And the reason my lining for the pockets is so much bigger is because I just made sure to cut out my exterior piece to size and then just kind of roughly cut the lining, which I do as a time saver. And then I'm going to take pinking shears along that top curve to trim that down. For the exterior pockets, I only used a layer of woven interfacing. I did not add the Sew Fuse Plus or anything like that. I thought about it, but I figured it's already gonna have such sturdiness and shape that I kind of want these pockets to be malleable and not so rigid so that I can stuff them full of things. Okay, there's that. And then what we're gonna do is fold that down, and you can finger press or you can use your iron. I'm gonna go ahead and take all of these to the iron and steam them down, and then we can base them onto the front panel. All right, I figured why not take you with me. So none of this is vinyl, so I don't have to worry about it melting. I'm a little worried about that hydro dipped fabric kind of not coming off, but I don't want to mess up the paint at all, so I'm going to try to stick most of my steaming on the lining side. But I'm using these clips just to kind of help hold everything in place. Keep going. So I'm rolling that seam between my fingers to make sure I've got a nice lip. And with that waterproof canvas, you do not want to iron for very long. And you want to make sure you're keeping the iron moving. You don't want to set it there. Okay. Make sure that you lift all of your corners equally. You can see how my seam there is a little too low. Make sure you poke that up as much as possible so that all of your pockets have that same swoop. And so there you can see my seam is kind of folded in a little bit too much. So I'm just going to kind of roll it back and forth. Just using a little bit of steam can't hurt. And then adding that clip. Here's this last one. Oops. So then I'll top stitch and then baste all the way around. So stitch length back to that 5. And then instead of lifting up, I'm just going to continue sewing. And when I'm top stitching anyway, I kind of use my finger as like an edge guide. You can see how I'm leaving my finger there so that it doesn't shift very much. Oops. So the reason my thread just snapped is because I lifted my needle up and moved too far over. So it just kind of snapped. Hopefully that doesn't mess up my bobbin too much. It might. I think we're okay. No, doesn't sound great. So it caught a little bit, but you can see here, like when I lifted up, kind of snapped it. So just be careful. If you ever get that issue, like that's what it is. I'm not going to sew back over it. I'm not going to worry about it because it is a basting stitch. It's not going to hurt anything. Just want to kind of double check that you have rethreaded properly. We can continue on. And then I can take my scissors and trim down my excess lining fabric so that each piece is accurate. So I find this saves me time at the cutting table, but you may find it to be more tedious than just cutting two pieces the exact same size. So whatever works for you, but yeah, we're just gonna trim all those down. The colors of this fabric are so pretty. Okay, so I kind of want to make sure that like this is too purple, but this looks nice. Like I want to make sure that where I'm putting them looks good. Yeah, I like that. So then I'm just going to clip them into place. I am at this point a little bit unsure if I want to add the foam or not. I think I'm going to omit the foam actually. I cut it all out, so I hate to waste it. It's luckily big enough I can reuse it for something else, but I just think it's gonna be too much bag, especially to add binding through all of that. So what I'm gonna do now is baste down again those in place so that we can then add our strap connectors. I have not added my foam yet because when you add all of that on top of your foam, it's perforating it, so it's likely to fold in those places. So you don't want that. Oops, I'm so sorry. I have made this bag once before, and it was around, maybe I'll try, I know I can find pictures and I'll try to have inserted them, but I know it was another, like, I started cutting it out super late at night and finished it early in the morning. I did sell it and I did ship it, and it was so expensive to ship. It's such a huge bag. But I hope the owner of it is still enjoying it, because it was an incredible bag, if I do say so myself. I'm actually going to be using this as like a travel bag. It's way bigger than my current diaper bag, and when I travel, it's mostly just me and Dorothy. So I want to be able to have a bag that holds a ton of stuff, won't smash her like birth certificate when we're flying, stuff like that. Probably should get her her own ID at this point. Or like a passport. Just in case. And I'm sure if you wanted to, you could make this like a whole pocket panel situation as well. You could either extend this piece so that this is also a slip pocket, or maybe add like a shorter, like swoopy pocket or something like that. That could be really cool. I considered it, but I really love this fabric and I didn't want to cover more of it up. Okay, let's talk about these strap connectors. I've got double-sided tape along the center, and then I'm just going to fold the long raw edges in. I thought about making this into a backpack of sorts, but I think it's just a little too awkwardly wide to be a backpack. Okay, yeah, those are plenty long. I'm gonna grab some double-sided tape. Can't leave home without it. As well as my 1-inch square rings. I'm gonna put just a little bit of tape at the top so when I fold it over it stays in place, but then I'm gonna add more double-sided tape along the center so when I place them onto the exterior fabric they don't shift around on me. So I'm gonna fold it to, let's see how 9 inches works. I like to make sure that there is at least 1 inch under the strap connector so that you can add a rivet or add another line of stitching or something like that so that there's a lot of strength holding on. If you only have a little bit, it's likely to rip. So it looks like that will work. It covers that pocket very nicely. If you are using a domestic machine to make your bag, good luck. No, I'm kidding. I would say omitting the foam from this portion at least will definitely help you navigate that thickness. All right, so then I'm gonna add these strips. And you can use 1/4 inch wide double-sided tape if you have a domestic or a machine that hates double-sided tape so that you're less likely to be sewing through it. I'm gonna grab my ruler. Let's see, because I want to make sure this is nicely centered. Did I mark my center? No. All right, I'm gonna snip my centers really quick. Okay, so I think I want to be like 2.5 inches, yeah, from that center to then place this down. Yeah, that looks great. You want to make sure you press everything down nicely and that your strap connectors look even. That's pretty. Alright, so there is that sewn on, and then I can go ahead and add a rivet through that section. Perfect, and then we will add a nameplate as well. And then I will go ahead and speed through adding the second ones. Alright, so for the lining, which is where we're at now, I'm going to be adding this inner slip pocket so that there's plenty of space to throw whatever into. Let's just throw whatever. So I'm going to fold the top edge of this down. I'm trying to think if like I want to make it, no. I'm going to do what I originally thought. I'm just going to fold that top edge down. And if you use the same waterproof canvas, and you're not a fan of like that raw folded over edge, you could fold it over again to have like a really nice rigid top edge. Totally up to you, as usual. And then I have my centers marked out in the bag already, so I'm just gonna lay this down. And I feel like what I've cut it to is probably a little deep. I think I cut it to like 9 inches. but I want to have enough space at the top. So I'm going to clip it into place here, clipping it to the sides. And then what I'm going to do is just flip this over to baste it in place. Ooh, a nice like cargo pocket, like adding pockets from the Belle baby bag on the inside of this would be really nice. Lots of great storage. Okay. So there's that kind of basted into place, and you could leave that as like one big pocket. You could even make like an elasticized pocket, and that would be really nice. But I'm just gonna add a quick center divider. I like using these for diapers or notebooks. Whoops, that was way too far, but we're going with it. And you could add these to both sides of the bag if you wanted to, and then skip any like zippered pocket, because we're not birthing this bag through that or turning it, you know, so the zippered pocket really isn't going to matter. So yeah, I'm going to set this aside for now. We're going to work on the zippered pocket. I want this to be like a really long zippered pocket, so I've cut my piece to 13 inches wide by 9.5 inches tall, so I can make an 11-inch zippered pocket. Do I have an 11-inch guy? Oh no, that's 10 inches. Okay. Okay. So I want to leave an inch on the top and an inch on the sides. So we're gonna go old school here. There's 1 inch. And when you're using zipper by the yard, like, it really does not matter what size your zipper pocket is, just saying. So I've marked out 1 inch from those 3 sides, and then I'm gonna measure 1/2 inch down from that 1 inch line. So 1.5 inches, and there it is, my zipper box. Bigger zipper pockets aren't necessarily harder to do, but you do have to be more careful with how you hold your zipper into place as you're sewing. Okay, so I have lined up my centers. I've nested those together. And then I'm using my clips to hold that piece in place. You could also use a little piece of double-sided tape in the part that you cut through if you wanted to. Bobbin? Bobbin. Ooh, that was a lot of loud noises, sorry. And then we're going to clip through the opening. And turn it through so that your fabrics are wrong sides together. And then we will use our iron to kind of steam and press that flat. Okay, got that pressed. I'm gonna grab my zipper and move that pull all the way down so it's kind of out of the way. Center your teeth. And then I just kind of take it a little section at a time, centering the teeth. And you don't want to pull on your zipper too much. You just kind of want to press it into place. Just kind of like suggest that it go where you want it to. Go ahead and push your zipper pull into place. Come on, there you go. And then we'll add the back side of the zipper pocket and trim off a little tail of zipper tape that goes into the seam allowance. Because you want a little bit in your seam allowance so that your raw ends are sewn through, but you don't want this really long piece that you can kind of feel through the lining. If you're not using waterproof canvas, I did it again. This thread doesn't pull well. It's not very silky. If you're doing a zipper pocket this big and you're not using like a waterproof canvas or anything super strong or like rigid on its own, I would definitely recommend adding a little scrap of like Decaville Light or 809 as a zipper facing, interfacing, zipper facing interfacing, just to give a little bit more strength to that zipper, because when it's so large it can get a little wavy, so you just want to add a little extra strength. And then I'm going to trim off the bottom part so that I'm not sewing that into the binding, making my life even harder. So there is our zipper pocket, nice and big. So that's it for the lining. Like, that's that. So now is the time to decide if I want to add the foam or not, and my gut is saying no, so that's what we're doing. We're not going to be adding it. In a way you can kind of judge for yourself as well is just go ahead and like stack everything together and see what you think. So got my foam here, I'm going to lay it all together and it is super thick. And I don't know that it really needs it. Because like without it, it's still gonna stand up really nicely. It's just not gonna have that like squish. So yeah, I've decided don't need it. I will, however, use it in the side panel of the bag. Oh, sorry. Because I do want strength there. It's quite a wide bag, so I think having that will really help. So I'm just going to line up all of the raw edges and do a quick basting around all of that. Set your stitch length to like a 7 if you want, so it goes super speedy. And if you want to add binding, now is the time. Like I said, I'm not gonna add binding. I just feel like that's gonna be an extra step and worry when adding the binding. Oh yeah, this feels incredible. I'm so excited. Zipper pocket is folded down. So I'm just lining up those center snips, notches. I would say they're notches. Buenos notches. Okay, so there are those panels done. Now we can work on the gusset, because that's what's next. Okay, I'm gonna add double-sided tape to the long straight edge of the gusset. And I'm gonna try to remember that I want to add D-rings for crossbody strap connector into this seam as well. Hopefully I don't forget. And we will also hopefully be trying screw-on purse feet. Yeah, quite exciting. I also roughly cut out my zipper panels just because it's quicker. Here. And I'm just gonna trim off all of the extra anyway, so I'm not that worried about it. All right, so I just need 1/2 of this at a time. So we'll peel this off. I did add 2 zipper pulls to my main zipper. I always like the way a double zipper looks and feels and functions. I did iron my zipper. I think that's very, very, very important to help any wrinkles stay away. Okay. And then you could base that in place if you're worried about anything shifting. I am not worried about it. And then we'll put right sides together. Clip this into place. So you can see, like, it's excessively too much longer than I need it to be, so I'm just going to trim it down. And we will sew that together with like a 4.5. Keep my zipper pulls out of the way. And then we will press that open and top stitch through all of those layers. Okay, and top stitch time. And you want to make sure that your edge is folded over nicely and you've got this nice seam happening. So you don't want it to be over too much or under too much. You just want it to sit right on top of itself. And I do that just by pulling the lining fabric gently to press that down into place. And then while I'm here, I'm just going to baste around the entire piece. And then we'll start on the other side. Okay. So we've got our double-sided tape on that long edge. Long straight edge. And line that side up and press it over the zipper. So I'm making sure these edges are lined up nicely. And then I'm going to flip it over to press my zipper down. And then smooth out any wrinkles. And then right sides together for the lining. Smooth that. And then we will press that open. I thought it might be helpful to see this area as well, even though my ironing board is a mess. So I like to start on my lining side, finger press that open, and lots of steam, moving quickly. And I'm just gonna really gently do that on this side too, but I gotta move quick because of my hydro dipped fabric, water marbled fabric. Is it hydro dipped? I don't know. My stabilizer is really thick, which I'm not mad about at all, but I just have to keep that in mind as I'm moving around. So just a quick steam, just to help me set that fold into place. almost feel like I need two phones, one over here, one over here, so I can record at different times. All right, trimming down the extra gusset. I would love to know in the comments if you like to rough cut your lining pieces or some pieces too, or if you find like it isn't a time saver for you. Just curious. I just find it to be so much quicker. What gorgeous panel. So pretty. So now I need to make my strap connectors. So I have these 2" by 4", or maybe they're like 3 inches. And I'm just gonna fold into the center. Hopefully editing Lauren will zoom in nicely for you. Got a little double-sided tape on the table. Look at that. And I'm just gonna baste them into place over my zipper panel. And before you do that, make sure your zipper pulls have been brought in so that you're not sewing that shut, because that would be very bad. Really quick, gonna add purse feet and then we'll finish up the gusset. So I'm going to add the purse feet underneath the foam. So it's not going to be through the foam, but through the Peltex. Wow, you can't see anything. Okay, I'm going to be adding the purse feet through the vinyl and the Peltex. No, this is Decaville Heavy. And I'm just going to add it 1 inch in from the corners, and then I'll add 1 in the center. So there is my center. And that is 6, 8. Okay, so 4 is the center. And we want to make a couple of little holes. Let me do that. Okay, so the best way to poke these holes is with this screw punch. I used to have one of these and I loved it, but then I broke it and never bought one again. But you just kind of hold it over those holes and slowly push down. It like has a motion. There you go. And creates a little hole. But you gotta go slow. Hopefully it's going through. Is it going through? going through the Decaville, but then I gotta go through to the next layer. There we go. There we go. But you definitely want to use this on a cutting mat surface. There we go. So now I've gone through all the layers. I can see my holes on the other side. Very exciting. And then here are my purse feet. Don't rip that because it just kind of opens like this. And then we are happy to reuse any of the baggies from our hardware, so you can always send them back and they will get another life. Okay, real talk, this is like my first time using these, so if I'm a little bad at it, just bear with me. Okay, so I'm gonna put this through the hole. And because this post isn't super duper long, that's why I'm not adding it through the foam too. So I'm just going to screw that on the top. Okay. Long nail problems. Goodbye forever. There we go. I'm gonna get that nice and tight. Beautiful. All right, I'm gonna be using just this tiny little bit of tape. My friend Lejeune gave this to me. But I wanna make sure that these purse feet don't come off, you know? So I'm adding my screw. I'm gonna take this glue and just very gently add a little bit because you don't want it to spill out. It's gonna go fast once it starts going. That smells wonderful. So I'm gonna press this on top and then come in from the back to screw that into place. And you can see it tighten down. Perfect. And yeah, I think, well, you probably could do these all at once, but like I said, this is my first time using them. Make sure that the hole you're making isn't too big or they could come through. You do not need to use this glue on them. It's just kind of what I had sitting around. I think that the Fabri-Tac glue will work well, or a little bit of a Loctite. And these do have a little plastic coating to keep them from scratching. And you'll want to hold the purse foot underneath, or you'll end up just spinning. It'll just spin. These feel extra fancy. Oh, I lost it. Hopefully this kind of shows you, like, you're not going to be proficient at anything the first time you do it, because this is definitely slow going for me. And any extra glue you can just wipe up. And like I said, this can have another life. Send it back. Okay, so now we're going to be making a very large gusset sandwich. Delicious, I know. But we're gonna want to lay our foam down. And I think I'm going to baste my foam first because I cut it a little bit bigger. And then I'm gonna add my lining gusset piece, which is the way I'd have to do it anyway, so never mind. Because we gotta add it to the top gusset, you know, that's a thing. So I'm just going to have my stitch length set to really long, like a 7. I'm just gonna go around all of the edges, which is a good thing because we wanna compress that foam down as well. If you have a zigzag machine, a zigzag stitch, you can do that. I sometimes like to use my serger when I know I need that foam compressed, but this should work as well. Or you could do like 2 lines of stitching that are like 1/8 of an inch from each other. Might do that. We'll see. Oh my goodness, I am so excited for this bag. Huh. I don't know. I thought about adding a line of stitching where this folds. Like right where that Decaville heavy is. I thought adding like a line. I'm just a little scared. I'm not gonna do it. I should. No, I'll be too close to the purse feet. I'm not gonna do it. But this was a thought I had. If you wanted to try and add side pockets, this is kind of your time to do it because you know where that bottom panel is, you know where it's gonna kind of line up. So you could do 2 pieces of fabric right sides together, so the top and the bottom, and then flip it through those sides and then lay that into place here, stitching along the bottom and the sides into place, and then you'd have a slip pocket. I'm not going to do it because I don't have any fabric cut, but I would love to have done it. But maybe you can do it. Now you know. You have the same knowledge. All right. Oh, it fits almost perfectly. That is exciting. So yeah, Lauren in the intro of the video, she was right. Okay, so for this, you still want to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance attaching these pieces together because that's what it would be in the normal pattern. So when you're attaching this to the front of your bag, if you're not using that 1/2 inch seam allowance, it's gonna be too big and you're gonna have some puckering. We don't want that. So I'm gonna go ahead and baste this into place. Watch out for your hardware, please and thank you. My stitch length is still set to super long, but I'm not mad about it. Make sure your zipper pulls are in if you haven't already. Make sure that D-ring. Okay, and then we want to grab our lining. Right sides together. Clip those in place. And then we'll sew just in a little ways from that basting stitch. We're gonna top stitch. So what I like to do is keep my lining out of the way and only sew through my exterior. So we're gonna sew down this. I thought I twisted something. And then we can line up this panel. Oops, what a mess. There we go. Right sides together. And then if your lining is a little too big in any spot, you can kind of hide that by folding it under here, up or down or whatever you need to. Trim all my extra little threads. Okay. This is where these clips come in handy. I'm gonna lay this down. And then I just kind of roll over to one edge at a time, flattening this out. And then slowly roll to the other side. And then we're gonna baste all of that into place. So again, we'll switch our stitch length to nice and long. Such smooth camera movements. Not. And so you can see my exterior panel is just a little bit wider there. So I'm gonna start at that point to do my basting stitch. And to help with the compression, I'm coming in about 1/8 of an inch from my original basting stitch. That is finished, and you can see that little bit of foam kind of hanging out over the edge and here, so I want to just trim those down so they're nice and smooth. And honestly, you could probably like go through and carefully trim out your foam if you wanted to as well. I don't think it's that serious though. Okay. And what I mean by like trimming that out is like by opening these layers here and like carefully snipping away at it using sharper scissors than this, obviously, but we're ready to put it together. Benjamin is ready to sleep, apparently. He's decided he needs to lay right there. It's not time to sleep, Ben. I'm so busy. You go sleep. We're getting close. So I'm gonna line up these panels. I started like an hour and a half ago, just to give you a sense of how much time has passed. So we're gonna find the center notches. The top and the bottom. main panel. Binding this is gonna be either terrifying or amazing, I'm not sure. Oh, we'll find out, won't we? All right, line up those center notches. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be so sad if things don't line up. I'm wondering, like, do I upload the video anyway? I don't know, I feel like I have uploaded bags that didn't quite turn out. Okay. Maybe I'm a little sad I added the foam. I don't know. So I'm clipping along the bottom to help keep that into place for now. And then we're just gonna kind of slowly work out corners. I wonder if I want to sew from this side. No, because then my corners won't look amazing. Like if I sew in the round, well, we can try it. We'll try it. I don't normally do that. Sometimes, I mean, I know I used to. That's the thing. Just gonna pinch that together to keep it in place. Get it lined up. And then it seems like the bottom of your front pocket should line up with the start of your side panel. So if that kind of helps you gauge where everything should go. I always like to know that. I feel like the center points alone kind of can't keep you on track. You need another like focal point of reference. Okay. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't add foam to the front panel. This would have been a lot to maneuver, and it kind of would have made the front seem a little puffier. All right, Ben, you're gonna have to move. And then if you think a stapler will help you with the curves, keeping them in place, you can try that. Here's what it's like. All right. My bobbin should be okay. Let's start along the bottom. And you just want to come in a little bit from your basting stitch. Yeah, that foam in the side panel is way too much. Luckily, these curves are nice and big. Just going nice and slow. So I'm having a little issue here with my lining because I did not catch it in my basting stitch. So I'm gonna kind of try to move that back into place. There we go. I don't think adding binding would have been too terrible, but it definitely would have been yet another layer to this already very thick situation going on. And again, that's from the foam. That's not necessarily my materials. So you can see that my machine's kind of having trouble with this right here where all these layers come together. So we're just gonna slowly kind of walk over it. I like this thread, but I don't think my machine likes it very much. It always sounds like it's about to run out of bobbin. I don't know why. Okay. Oops, goodness, so sorry. So let's take a look at it from this side. Make sure things are shaping up well. Thought I had a pucker, but I don't. Might on that front panel. We're just gonna keep rolling with it. I'm gonna add my binding. So got a little trimmed piece. This is 1 inch wide waterproof canvas, and it's cut nice and straight with a rotary cutter, so there shouldn't be any fraying. And then the edge that I'm sewing, I want to fold it under just a little bit less than the edge underneath that I can't see. That way I know that I'm catching it. And I did go with a bit of a contrast here in the binding department. Not mad about it though. Okay, cool. I like to cut mine from the width of the fabric. So the waterproof canvas, I believe that is 60 inches wide. So I have plenty of binding here. If you need more, you could order like a 3-yard piece maybe from FWD Fabrics and like kind of fold it so that you can get like a 3-yard continuous piece or something like that if you needed it. just hope this looks like somewhat decent just because of the fabric I used. Okay. I'd also love to know, like, what are you guys watching on TV? Are you watching any shows? I just started rewatching Dexter for like the 5th time in my life. Probably 3rd, to be honest. But I'm kind of excited for them to not re-release, but like come out with a new season, because the last season of Dexter was just awful. Just so awful. All right, let's go. Coming up that hump again, just slowly walking and making sure that the needle is going through while the foot is straight. I feel like I'm almost done, but then I remember, like, I have to do this all over again. There's the bobbin. Gosh darn it. Luckily, it's just the binding. And I did miss a small section. Darn it. Get in there. There we go. This bag is for me, so there's some things I'm just not super worried about. Running out of bobbin at that point being one of them. Okay, so there's one part finished. I want to turn it to see if it looks okay, but I don't want to give up, so I'm not gonna look. Just in case it doesn't look good. So we're gonna line up the other top notch. And I'm clipping towards the inside in the round versus the Gusset. I think it's important if you start one way to keep going that same route. And then I know that my side pocket should line up with where my side gusset starts. So I want to kind of line that up. Now, if you wanted to, you could do just a little based stitch in all of those like spots that you know go in one area before you go around the whole thing. I don't know that I would particularly trust that though, but it might work. Okay, and then bottom notch. I wonder if maybe I should have used a little bit smaller of a seam allowance on my gusset, because it just feels like my gusset is a teensy bit too small, which stinks. So I was really trying to get that perfect. So you can see I'm kind of like pinching this whole thing in my hands instead of like trying to keep it nice and flat the whole way. Like, well, let's just add ruffles all the way around. No, but okay. More clips. So let's see from this side. Hopefully you can see. No. Kind of pinching all of that together, kind of making it nice and even. But hey, who knows? Maybe this bag won't look so good. And you'll be like, well, now I know not to do that. Yeah, no foam. Oh, look at this bag. We are going places. Me and you. So sturdy. Okay. We can't lose focus. Take a deep breath. I've got Ben here, keeping watch. And I know I have a nice full bobbin. Nice and slow along the bottom. I'll try to zoom out so you can kind of see what my hand is doing as well. My thread is starting to shred a little bit, which is frustrating. So what that could mean is, one, there was like a little spot in the thread, or it's that my needle isn't quite sharp enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and right now take this off the machine. I'm gonna pull my thread through a little bit and snip it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and change out my needle. It's probably time anyway to change out the needle. All right, new needle, who dis? We're gonna start a little in from where we last left off. Here comes the bolt. Nice and slow, making sure my needle is going in straight. Hand cranking a little tiny bit, and mostly my hand is just like guiding it. Kind of adding a little resistance, making sure if anything happens I can prevent it. Try to anyway. Okay. And then we're coming in towards that curve, so I'm gonna add a few more clips, making sure those stay lined up. Trim my extra threads while I'm here. And then I think there's gonna be some spots I need to trim down my fabric before I add the binding. Let's see if I can zoom out. That's as much as I can zoom out. Okay, oh, that's not great. All right, you can see here, my stitching came way down and then back up. So that's gonna look terrible, but I can't change it. So we'll just kind of trim this down as best we can. Hey, like I said, it's for me. Just gotta go nice and slow and be careful along those curves. And know that it's tricky, even for someone who makes a lot of bags. And even if I seam ripped it, it wouldn't work out very well because I'd see those holes. So I'm just gonna trim this down and add the binding. Oh, darn. So we went the outside to have a little more binding than the inside. So as I'm folding it, I'm making sure here there's a little bit more fabric than on the top. Ooh. If I had added binding to the top of this, that would have looked really cool because it would have kind of matched. It would have been that bright teal, and yeah, I didn't, but maybe you can. Sizing this bag down to maybe 85% would be a really nice, more of a handbag size, really. And you would just print it out at 85%. There's not many measurement pieces for this pattern, so you wouldn't have that issue. But when you size down a pattern, you need to multiply all the other pieces by the same amount. And then I know that the seam allowance is a big question as well, and I would say that no matter what you do, just be consistent with it. And you should be fine. Okay, well, this is basically the last step, so hope it goes okay. Anything with my hand in the way. I'll try an upward angle. I should have trimmed down my fabric here so you can see my other lines of stitching. That's fine for me, so long as I catch it enough. There we go. Yeah, without the foam, this wouldn't have been a problem at all. I'm so sorry. I had to guide my needle. Won't you guide my needle tonight? Then how the other clips? I don't know. Oh, of course. My thread broke again. Okay, so the issue with my thread breaking this time is got wrapped around some stuff. So, if that ever happens to you, now you know. That's that issue. wish I could say I was excited to turn this bag, but I'm just scared of what it's gonna look like. Oh man. Okay, so here's the size. Huge. So we're just gonna start by pushing out the bottom. Love the colors so much though. This top, this looks pretty glorious. Honestly, I just want to go slow with this and like enjoy the parts that look good before I see the parts that don't look good. Okay. And when I'm doing this, I'm using a fist to push out the corners so that I don't hurt a nail. Okay, well this side looks okay. But I don't think I messed up on this side. And then I'm just kind of rolling this seam around. So there's that. Oh, there's an echo in here. Probably should have gone to bed 2 hours ago. All right, let's push out this bottom. Oof. I can see my basting stitches just slightly on the bottom. I am so glad I did not add foam to this main panel. Oh, it would have been terrible. Okay, this corner isn't gonna be great. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What a bag. What a bag. Okay. Massage this. I don't know if piping makes it more obvious that your bag is misshapen or less obvious, honestly. But I think once you shove it full of stuff, no one will know. You can see there, it's got a little lopsided. Oh no, that's the corner I kind of came in too much at. This side looks way better. Not by much. Oof, those pursuit though. All right, let's go ahead and clip on these handles and we'll rivet them into place. Yeah, I'm glad I went with a little bit longer handles. Okay, the front's not too bad. I just need to massage down here. You see how it's kind of bowing in like that? It's okay, it happens. This fabric is absolutely gorgeous. Oh yeah, those are nice handles. Okay, and then we're gonna rivet those on. I guess I never actually filmed an outro to this video. It's just been meowing, but we riveted the handles on And I'm not super in love with the way this bag turned out, but I would definitely try again using binding method, but would not use foam in the bottom panel. I think it has plenty of stability without it. So if you make this bag, I would love to see it. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Sewing with Lauren, and don't forget to comment down below.